Hi, my name is Chad Dixon, and I wanted to take this opportunity, first of all, thank you for joining me. I know it's probably hard to tell, but I'm surrounded by hundreds and maybe even thousands of people in this stadium. What I wanted to talk to you about today was something that I think is important and also well needed in our market. And there's a program called Home Partners of America. Well, it's not so much a program as much as an investment company out of Chicago. They have a really fantastic program designed to help renters become homeowners. Their motto is to bridge the gap between home ownership, and I've found this program to be incredibly useful and underutilized in our market. When I meet with potential customers about it, one of the things that I discuss with them is I let them know that Home Partners has a little bit different strategy on investing in real estate, in that they've decided that rather than going and purchasing a bunch of rental properties, they found it to be better suited to the market to find the renters first and then let the renter pick the property. And then at that time, Home Partners just purchases it for them, leases it to them on a 12-month lease, and does give them the right to purchase the property at any time. At the end of that 12-month lease, the lease will automatically renew for another 12 months, and that continues for up to 5 years. Each year, the rent price does increase by a small percentage. Currently, it's about 3 or 4%, depending on what market you're in. If you have questions about that, you can check with your local Home Partners rep, and he or she will help explain that to you. In Minneapolis right now, I think the last time that I checked, is one of the strongest Home Partners markets in the U.S. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've been their number one agent in the U.S., doing somewhere between 300 and 400 real estate transactions with them. So I've gotten to know their process really, really well. Not only the stuff that they want you to know and the stuff that they teach you, but also some of the things that they don't necessarily want you to know. But I've also found that information to be as useful as anything else. So the first thing that I want to talk about real quickly, which is probably the most common question that people ask me, is how do I generate leads and how do I go through the lead conversion process? And it's a difficult question to answer, because in order to answer that properly, you have to have a basic understanding of marketing, lead conversion, and technology. I've always been a big proponent of leveraging technology for lead generating and marketing purposes, because computers work 24/7. And I would rather have a system in place that's working nonstop, generating inquiries, responding to people immediately, and getting them the information that they need so they can determine if it's a good fit. Some of those strategies include recorded messages, which I've been a big proponent of. Recorded messages, automatic text messages, emails, so on and so forth. What I think the best dollar-for-dollar marketing strategy is going to be pay-per-click advertising, or otherwise known as PPC. Facebook and Google, for the most part, have this part of the market locked down. I've found Facebook to be the most affordable, and I think it's generally easier to use than Google. And as we all know, Facebook knows everything about us. So it's been really great for not only creating a custom list. So for instance, if you have a list of in spreadsheet format, if you have a list of, say, 100 people that you think may be a good fit for the Home Partners program, you can load that list into Facebook in the advertising section, create a custom audience labeled, you could label it anything you want to. Maybe label it, the people who didn't get approved for financing. And then you simply run those advertisements directed specifically at them. One of the best topics to hit on for lead generation, for marketing in general, is using the phrase rent certainty. I've been experimenting with a couple other variations of that phrase, rent certainty or payment certainty for up to 5 years. One of the advantages of the Home Partners program is that people know that they can live in the house for up to 5 years. So once approved, they can move into the property. Again, they can purchase it at any time, but they know what their payment will be for the next 5 years. Another phrase that you want to highlight on that advertising is that most credit scores are accepted. While the actual terms or the actual approval guidelines suggest a 560 credit score, I generally will advertise a 580 credit score or higher because most people who fall into the 560 credit score category, they tend to think that their credit scores are higher. So you want to err on the side of caution with that. The basics of the approval are a $50,000 a year in gross household income, 560 credit score based on TransUnion Credit Bureau only, no evictions, no violent or drug-related criminal history, and no dangerous breed pets or combined weight in excess of 175 pounds. And the thing that we tend to get tripped up on, or that people get tripped up on, is the criminal history, surprisingly. That's the kind of thing that they are not going to tell you if they have a criminal history, or at least 8 out of 10 people will not tell you if they're going to fail the background check. Some people will, and that's great when they do, because then they're just eliminating themselves, and there's not a lot that we can do to help them. Going through the application process, when you explain to people up front that this is what the criteria is, and they also need a 45 to 60 day timeline. People who check all of those boxes generally are going to have over a 60% approval rate. Reviewing the entire history on my account, the last time I did this, our application approval rate was close to 70%. I also think that included probably a year or two in the very beginning where we were sending all of our leads directly into the Home Partners site, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and why you don't want to do that. But my gut tells me that 8 out of 10 people that we ask to do the application for pre-approval end up being approved. In regard to what do you do when you have your ad set up? So you have your advertisement set up, whether it's Facebook, Google, Craigslist, whatever it is. It's always best to advertise a specific property when possible. But what you want to do is you want to have a specific landing page set up. And that landing page has to answer the question or be directly related to the ad that you ran. So if you run an ad, that is specific to a property, then you want that landing page to give them more information about the property, more information on the program, and a clear call to action. A call to action is going to be a link that sends them to take whatever steps that you find you want them to do next. The best next step to do is to schedule a phone call or a meeting or something to that effect. At any rate, you want to make sure that you collect their contact information. So name, email, phone number. If you get that information, you collect that information, follow up with them accordingly, and one of the reasons that you don't want to send everything directly to the Home Partner site is, in marketing terms, the Home Partner site is what we call a leaky funnel. And a leaky funnel is a site that looks great, but you lose all of the traffic that goes there. And by sending all of your leads directly to the Home Partner site, even if you're sending them to the custom URL that they provide, by sending them directly to the site, typically what happens is they go on there and their eyes just glaze over. So they go onto the website, there's too much information, and they end up thinking it's a scam, and they disappear. So it's best to just walk them through in baby steps, one step at a time. One of the things that we've had pretty good success with is just using a web form to collect as much information as we can get people to fill out, which generally is contact info, area of interest, comfort level for monthly payment. I've also found that it's important to constantly reinforce to them throughout the process that what they're paying is rent. It is not a rent-to-own program. A rent-to-own program generally is going to be a form of seller financing. In Minnesota, we have contracts for deed. Other states have land trust contracts between the buyer and the seller. All of those are just on a case-by-case basis. So it's important to reiterate to everybody that they're renting the house and that they're not buying it. This will also help you not lose leads, because if they go onto the Home Partners website, they're going to see list prices on everything. They're going to see a graduating scale of what their right to purchase will be over the course of 5 years. And actually, on that note, the right to purchase will go up based on your state and your market, between 3 and 5% more than whatever Home Partners acquisition cost ends up being. So if they buy a $300,000 property and they have $15,000 into it in make-ready expenses and closing costs, that's going to be the basis for their cost. So they're going to give the resident the right to purchase that property for 3 to 5%, again, depending on the market, 3 to 5% more than what that acquisition cost is, and each year that goes up at the same rate. So that being said, it's best to get as much information as you can up front. Do not send them to the Home Partner site, because you'll just lose them. What we like to do is we like to get those forms filled out. We like to communicate by text and email immediately. We have a pretty killer software program set up, a CRM that I've built from the ground up using the Zoho platform, where when those leads come in, they get an automatic text message conversation. It's actually 3 or 4 messages. Excuse me, 3 or 4 messages that the system is actually having a conversation with them. So it feels conversational. They're getting their questions answered, and then the call to action is from there is to schedule a meeting. And we have incredibly high conversion rates when people schedule an appointment to come into the office. What we like to do is schedule that meeting, sit in the conference room. We have them bring all of their documentation in as well. So we'll have them bring their pay stubs, their bank statements, W-2s, anything that we think Home Partners is going to need to review the application process. In the conference room, we got the fancy conference room with the TV on the wall. We have a couple of videos that we'll watch that are right from the Home Partner site, explain more about the program, answer their questions. When they see that it's a real thing and you're a real person and you work for a real real estate company, then they'll be a lot more comfortable moving forward and doing their application. At that point, then we'll have them start their application right in the conference room on the computer, and it works great. One of the things that we do have to reiterate repeatedly, which I've actually found that it helps quite a bit, is to reiterate to people that this is not a red carpet type of service. So some people, I think some agents unknowingly set expectations too high. The property management company that runs everything through the United States on behalf of Home Partners is actually owned by Home Partners, but it is a separate company altogether. They're growing incredibly fast due to the number of properties that Home Partners is purchasing. And with that growth does come some growing pains. But we've found them to be really wonderful people, and they're as helpful as they can. They're as helpful as they can be, but the metaphor that I use with people when explaining to them is, if your basement is flooding, then they are going to have somebody out there immediately. If you call them because the refrigerator is making a weird noise, you're probably not going to get a really quick response from them. So they do prioritize those service requests. The best way for your customer to communicate with a management company is to do it online through their customer portal. Try to avoid having people call in, but if you have them go into their tenant portal, submit a ticket or some type of a service request in there, then they have a record of it. Also, the people that work at the management company are graded, their performance is graded based on how quickly they respond to those tickets. So that's another helpful tidbit that we found, where people who are the most successful at working with Home Partners and have the best experience are the people that have the appropriate expectations, that are not expecting a full service may not be the best word, red carpet service. We tell them that they're not going to live in a hotel. They're living in a house that they pick, and generally they should only choose a home that they're comfortable with moving into in the condition that they see it. And aside from that, if you can master those few points of marketing, lead conversion, properly setting expectations, if you can master those points, you'll be well on your way to lead generating and getting your Home Partners transaction business started.